Hey everybody, I'm Belinda Sandor, also known as Rocket Girl. Today, we're going to talk about how hiding your weaknesses can work against you. Hey everybody, welcome. I'm Belinda Sandor. I'm thrilled you're here. Welcome to the RocketGirl Show. For those of you joining us for the first time, I am the founder of the VA Connection, where I coach and mentor established and aspiring VAs. And I do this in my community, my coaching programs, and my courses. So welcome, come on in. And today I'm going to be your host of the RocketGirl Show. I'm very excited to bring this topic to you today and to tell you a story about one of my chickens. So please let me know where you're coming in from. We are streaming on YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, all the places. So come on in and let me know where you are. I see Michelle is here. Hello, hello, hello. Okay. Now today we're going to talk about why we don't need to hide our weaknesses, and we're going to talk about how it works against us. So this is my chicken, Lavinia. Unfortunately, she has crossed the rainbow bridge, but she was a very well taken care of little girl. And so here's the thing. One day I walked out into the run, which is like the screened-in porch where the chickens live, and I had grubblies. Grubblies are dried mealworms that are made in the U.S. And I scattered them on the ground. And all of the chickens come running to them. They love them. It's like crack cocaine for them. But Lavinia did not. What she did was she was over in the corner, like behind everybody, and she was looking at, you know how when someone is like, they see you, but they're not looking at you, and it's kind of like this? That's what she was doing. She was not looking at me. She was not engaging with the other chickens, and she was just, her whole energy was like, don't notice me. Don't notice me. Please don't notice me. And I thought, okay, she's sick, because that's what chickens do. When there's something wrong with them, they hide, and they hide for a couple of reasons. One is because if the other chickens, this is brutal, but it's true. If the other chickens sense the weakness, they will potentially injure or kill their flockmate because they are endangering them. Right. So that's one reason. And then the other reason, and even though she was protected in a chicken run, she doesn't know that. So she is trying to hide her weaknesses from other predators out in the wild because she doesn't want to be eaten. Right. So the problem with this is that chickens are usually pretty sick by the time you realize they're sick, because they're so good at hiding it. And the thing is that as a virtual assistant, we are natural problem solvers. But the key to solving problems is to ask really good questions. We were just talking about this in study hall a few minutes ago. And the thing is that a lot of times we don't want to ask questions because we think it means that we don't know what we're talking about. When by asking questions, we're actually putting ourselves in the driver's seat of the conversation. And so I want you to think about that and how you can learn more about what the client wants. See, here's the thing. We assume that when we're talking to a prospective client about what they want, we assume that they know what they want. We assume that they understand what they want and that they have a solution for what they want, and they're just waiting for you to say what they think so that they'll hire you. It's not like that at all. It's so not like that. What it's like is that their best friend. So what we were talking about in VA school was study hall. Someone was talking about funnels, and the woman said she needed a funnel, and probably her best friend told her she needed a funnel. So now she's looking for a VA to create a funnel for her, but there's like so many more questions to ask. What is the funnel for? What software do you think you'd like to use? Would you like recommendations? Can we sketch it out? There's so many more things, but we hide and don't ask those questions because we feel that it will reflect badly on us. And I would love to hear from anyone that, that's happened to, right? So the thing is that we do this to protect ourselves from the client thinking we don't know anything. And we're also, in my mind, I used to think I'm protecting the client from the burden of me not having a clue. How's that for self-talk, right? The burden of not having a clue. That's really how I thought about it. So you really want to not only ask questions of the clients, but you want to be able to ask for help from your colleagues, from your friends, from other virtual assistants, right? And you might be feeling like you're taking their time, or, it's interesting. I'm reading this book right now about, it talks about reciprocity and how people think that if someone does a favor for them, that they owe them a favor, and how there's this whole psychology around that. But as someone who doesn't feel like that, I give freely because I want to. I check in with myself. Is this going to make me mad to give them this thing? No. Okay, here you go. And then I don't expect anything back. But there's a whole psychology that is like a tape that's running inside of us. So we're afraid to ask help, and we're afraid to be vulnerable, and all the things. But actually, those are strengths, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. The other thing that we think, and this is a big one, we think we should be able to figure it out alone. And what happens is instead of asking a question, or asking a friend, or bringing it to our community and asking the question, we spend 3 or 4 hours not solving the problem, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. And here's the thing, is that by asking a simple question, a light bulb could go off that helps you to solve it, right? So you really don't want to isolate yourself when there's some help that you need. And then the other thing that I've seen, and this is just human nature, but we have to step aside from what is programmed into us naturally if we want to break away and do something exciting, like have our own business. And that is, we don't want to be judged, because in our own brains, we think, if I were smarter, if I were this, if I were that, or, I would know this. But really all it is a matter of not knowing it yet, right? Not knowing it yet. And we think that people will judge us. And you know what? You're right. People judge us. People judge us all the time. You are judging me right now. Like, it's just natural, and that's fine. Go ahead, right? Because the thing is we need to stop tying our self-worth to what other people think, because they're just putting it through their own filter, right? And so there's filter after filter after filter, and it just gets crazy. So, if that resonates with you, I want you to sit down and think about it. And here's something else. When I first moved to Connecticut, and actually here as well, I wanted to make friends, but the Connecticut stands out bigger for me because I lived in Boston for over 20 years, and I had a lot of friends, and I had people I could call and say, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And when I moved to Connecticut, I didn't have that. I had friends, they weren't even friends. There were people that I went to high school with that lived in town. So I knew them for a long time, but I realized that if I had it handled all the time, if I didn't need any help, that there was no reason for the relationship to start. And so one day I was going to be in Boston. Greg was working somewhere. He had a job. This was before COVID. Emily needed to be a job outside the home. Emily needed to be picked up from the barn, and I couldn't do it. And Greg is very protective of her, and she was young, and he didn't want her in an Uber alone. We lived in a place that wasn't really remote, but it was private. And he worries about that. So I asked a friend, can you drive her home? And she was thrilled. And think about how excited we are when someone asks us, do you know what this is? Do you know what that is? Can you help me with this? And people jump up and down, to help us. So this goes in terms of client relationships and understanding of projects and what the client is trying to achieve, as well as building relationships and friendships in our lives, to not be afraid of this, right? Right. So let me know what you think about this, this whole concept of, and I see it in virtual assistants so often, because, we are the people that others generally come to for the questions, and knowing all the answers is a way of hiding our imposter syndrome, when really, when your imposter syndrome is is more handled and more under control when you're not afraid to be who you really are and ask a question like, what does that mean? Let's look it up. All right. Yeah. And George says, so true. I hesitate to ask questions, especially when I'm among strangers, like at a networking event. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I would say people are not clear when they're speaking. They're generally not clear. A lot of people, like in networking events, they'll speak in jargon, and it's impossible to know. It's funny because I was signing a contract actually for the conference that we're having, and the woman said something to me about, this is your XYZ, like I should know what this is. And it was like my catering order or something, but she didn't call it that. She called it the name of the form. And people do that all the time. And I just said to her, I don't know what an XYZ is. And she kind of acted like I should. I'm like, how? I don't work for Marriott. Like, I don't know that, and so people just get in their own little bubble. And so it's not uncommon. And so we really have to be brave enough to say, what's an XYZ? And, if I can't keep up with everything on the planet. So yesterday in study hall, one of the students, Maureen, she said, do you know who so-and-so is? And a lot of people on the call did. And I have no idea. I don't remember the person's name, but what she told me was it's a weather guy who's on the Weather Channel, and he goes wherever the really bad storms are. And she was saying he was 15 minutes away from her house. Now, I have not watched the Weather Channel, I don't know, 15 years. There's just no way I could know. And this person could be like the weather person on the earth. And I would have no idea because I don't watch the weather. I look at the weather on my phone, and that's my whole weather situation. So I could judge myself like, oh, I should have known who that was. Or even worse than that, have you ever been around someone and they fake that they know and you can tell that they have no idea, right? Because they feel like they have to know. So, because I could have said, oh yeah, I have no idea who this guy is. It's okay. You can't know everything. You just can't. And so don't let other people's opinions of that matter more than your own opinion of yourself. Okay. And don't hide your weaknesses. Now, this girl, she was, her name is Lavinia. She was having trouble with putting weight on one of her legs. And so we took her to the vet, and he gave us some medicine for her, and she ended up recovering. Like I said, she's no longer with us. She was the cutest she was like a little, those little footballs, what are they? So it's not a regular football, but it's a football, like not for little boys, but like the Pop Warner football. They're a little smaller. She was like a Pop Warner football. Like you pick her up with one hand and just put her under your arm, and she was something else. And that chicken went down with a fight. She definitely did not go out easy, and we fought it together. Yeah. Yeah. As Christiane says, my favorite words in those situations are explain, please. Can you explain? And here's the other thing. Sometimes Greg will say something to me. This happened yesterday. And, he explained something and I had no idea what he was talking about. And I said, I'm not really following. And what he did was he said, people do this all the time. He said the same exact words again. And I'm like, and he was getting frustrated. And what I said to him is, I heard what you said, and I appreciate you repeating it again, but is there a way that you can say it a different way? Because I'm not understanding. Sometimes I don't even know the topic he's talking about. And I do that to him too. I'm thinking about something, so I just start talking about it, and I haven't even told him I changed the subject. So it is common, and just be okay with it inside, right? Just be okay with it inside. Good. So thank you all for, Renita says, that's my husband. Yeah, it's hysterical, that we were bike riding. I'm like, what is the topic? What is the topic? Good. All right. Thank you all for coming. Thank you very much for coming to the RocketGirl Show today to talk about this important topic, and for me to be able to introduce you to my little chicken, Lavinia. She was something else, that girl. And for those of you who are new, I think I recognize almost everyone who is here, which is very exciting. But go over to the VA Connection on Facebook. Join us over there. If you're on YouTube, ring that bell. We have free trainings every single week, and I don't want you to miss a thing. Okay? Good, good, good. All right, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. And, do something fun. Get outside. And this is Belinda Sandor, Rocket Girl, signing off. Bye-bye.